Good evening. My name is Emily Byrne, and tonight we have our director, Rose Freeman, who directed Amahl and the Night Visitors. How are you doing, Rose?
I'm doing really well. Happy to see the production up and happy to just, holding the light of opera, that little candle in all of our lives going and until we can make work live again.
We love that about you. So, who are your biggest influences, both a director as a stage person? Who are your biggest influences?
My biggest influences as a director are always the performers themselves. We can look to other directors, and there are some really fantastic ones. I grew up snacking on Anne Bogart and Mary Zimmerman and all of them, for so long. But in the end of the day, the reality of it is I'm looking at opera singers themselves and the beautiful beasts that they are. It's such a hard job, and where that art comes from and where that spirit comes from is so important and inspiring to me. And my mom. I know that sounds hilarious and corny, but really my mom is probably my biggest artistic influence. And I always kind of secretly am directing for her. If she's delighted and if she's crying and if she's scared, I've done my job.
So what resonates with you about Operanauts and our mission and activities?
Opera can be a powerful proletariat act that is of the world. And I feel like Operanauts really understands that. One of my first writing teacher was like my senior year of high school, and he was a creative writing teacher. He taught me how to write poetry. And he was from the Congo, and he was really, it was his first year in the States. He was exhausted, and he was in charge of teaching these like 13 white kids in Appleton, Wisconsin, who were just, dumb and privileged in this Catholic school. We were just, only the way you can, that hubris of being 17. And his perspective on the world completely changed the way I thought about art and really allowed me to look at art as a global activity that involves all of us and can bring in multiple continents through our interconnectivity. And I feel like Operanauts really captures that and is always striving towards that interconnectivity and that facilitation of voice, right? There isn't that colonial idea of like, oh, we're going to go in and teach them how to make opera. No, they're like, what is your voice? What is your want? What is your desire as an artistic influence? How do you want to make opera? Okay, let's help you do that in whatever way you want. And I think that's really powerful and exciting. And one thing that COVID has done for us here in the States is now we've had to think, oh, how do we want to do this? These restrictions that we have or these limitations that we have, how can we hear our voices and make work? And how do we have to facilitate that, right? It's been a real leveler artistically. And that's something I really love about Operanauts. And it's embracing of that and its adventurous spirit in that way.
I love your use of adventurous spirit. What a beautiful sentiment. Thank you so much for sharing. So
we're always on an adventure, right?
So professionally and personally, COVID has, I think, been hard, especially for performing artists and directors. What are some professional or personal obstacles that you faced during the pandemic, and how did you overcome them?
Other than our entire industry of live theater being put on a giant pause. Other than the existential dread of just laying on the floor, not knowing if it'll ever come back the same way. Or other than learning an entire medium of film editing.
Well, as we come to a close of our little interview, I'd love you to give us a toast, if you wouldn't mind.
I'll give the toast that I give my performers every time they open a show. And may you live truthfully in imaginary circumstances. And may your circumstances of truth be lived.
I'll drink to that. Thank you so much, Rose, for coming on. My name is Emily Byrne. Thank you for joining us. Please check out Amahl and the Night Visitors with Operanauts.